all things with City and Guilds.
Things are very good in City and Guilds, Minister. We were delighted to be here this week. I mean, it's the first time I'm back in this country for a number of years, and we've had a very good breakfast meeting this morning with a number of different sort of stakeholders, talking about some of the issues. And I think it's interesting. The issues here seem to be no different than the issues domestically at home in the UK or anywhere else. Employability. How do you improve employability skills in young people? How do we create meaningful pathways for vocational education? How do we create more engagement with employers?
The modern labour market requires, I believe, more technically competent persons, and that's the bulk of the labour market now. And that's where we were heading with policy, which is why I invested so much in the career advancement program and introducing in a more significant way technical certifications such as the City and Guilds into our formal education system.
And we were delighted. I mean, thank you so much. I mean, the way in which I think sort of career advancement sort of program has been sort of adopted is clearly a great success.
Yes, it is. I'm hoping that it will be continued. Administrations change, and you well know the same thing. Policies may change. But I take the view that as long as the policy is good, there's no need to change the policy. I inherited things from the previous government and I kept and improved on. I think the career advancement program, even if the present government doesn't like it, I think they have to carry through. Jamaica has a serious problem where up to 52,000 students that leave high school at age 16 every year, approximately 32,000 of them would not have enough certification to matriculate and articulate in the labour force.
Yes.
And they end up costing the country, both as a deadweight cost in terms of the opportunity cost lost in not having their productivity, but you also pay for the social deviance that may occur at that critical point in their life cycle. You end up paying for that in health, you end up paying for that in national security, you end up paying for that in crime, So the issue for us is to make that investment very early to prevent that deviance in that critical part of the life cycle. So the CAP program was designed to give those students who didn't do well in school originally, or who did well and want to pursue a technical vocational pathway, to give them the opportunity. The strategy, of course, was bolstered by an accountability strategy and a quality strategy to improve at the outset in the schools the performance of the students, so that your program at the career advancement level would move from remediation to advancement, which is what the program is designed to do, advance you in a career path. So it was a comprehensive plan, and I hope that the current administration will carry it through.
Yes. I think it's interesting. It's interesting you talk a little about this, the longer term benefits, and essentially sort of the cost avoidance that you referenced. One of the things that we've done recently, and it might be an interesting study, whether you've sort of seen it here, a study around the long-term economic impact of the million-year apprenticeship stance that the UK government has been pushing. So, the UK's target by 2013, a million-year apprenticeship stance.
Yes.
Now, we're well on our way to achieving that. Not enough 16 to 18-year-olds, perhaps a little bit too many adult apprenticeships, and there's a different issue there. But we undertook a fairly robust economic study around what does that really mean in terms of GDP benefit. And typically we always look sort of backwards as being the impact of the programme. This is the first one essentially forecasting out the benefits.
Yes.
And if you look at that, I mean, sort of not only is there a significant positive impact in terms of GDP, in terms of economic output, increased productivity, lower staff churn, so cost avoidance in terms of recruitment and such like. But those perhaps slightly more invisible issues around less impact on benefit systems is really quite significant.
Yes, it is. The challenge for growth it's not so much in the long term, the macroeconomic issues. It is more so the microeconomic issues that are important. So clearly the structure of your economy, distortions of signaling, those issues, and productivity. But if you get to the core of productivity issues, it really lies in your education system. And for developing countries like Jamaica, the education system is a constraint in growth. And we have to realize that very quickly, that you're not going to get growth either in the medium term or in the long term without correcting your education system. And once you correct your education system, then you can start to correct your labor market. The labor market issues are more fundamental. Fit for work, match skill set with job opportunity, knowledge, skills, and attitude. The alignment between national priorities and what your education system is turning up. Those are some really fundamental issues that have to be addressed, and that can only come through reforming your education system. And when it comes to getting the labor markets to clear the allocative efficiency of your labor market, it is quite clear to us that the skill sets that the employers are requiring are certainly not the skill sets that the education system is turning out. So a part of your unemployment problem is not just lack of growth in the job space, but it is a misfit between skills. The Career Advancement Program was designed to help persons to develop the skills. And when we talk about skills, sometimes we make the error of believing that skills mean woodworking or skills really is, we have reduced the job to its fundamental functions. And we've given the student the assets to carry out those functions, both in terms of their attitude and their knowledge. And of course, the actual doing. Right? So it's not a matter of, I've read it, and therefore I know it. It's that I have done it, and therefore I've experienced it. So the next step in our policy after the Career Advancement Program was, as you said, apprenticeship. We have an antiquated apprenticeship act, and we wanted to broaden the scope of apprenticeship to include many professions. Went to a skills training institution, but it was really a company that repaired mega-sized equipment, but they had a partnership with the government that they would take on a certain number of trainees. And the instructor there was saying that the first thing that the trainees do, the apprentices, is that they get a big drum of bolts and nuts, and the apprentice must go and sort. It's a drum this high of thousands of nuts and bolts. And he says, well, after the 5th day of doing this, they start to sift. Because people are beginning to go, why am I doing this? It's not what I came here to do. But actually, so they would be able to figure out, who really doesn't have the patience to do this. So they start to make their judgment already. And it may seem, something just designed to frustrate. But you should really consider that if you are repairing equipment, if you have to stop every time to figure out that this is a 1/4 inch nut to fit a 1/4 inch bolt, you're going to waste 2 or 3 minutes, and then you add that up with the number of bolts. So a fundamental skill is to be able to identify in seconds nuts, bolts, nuts, bolts, nuts, bolts. And that's a skill.
To be patient.
But that's the point.
Yeah.
So, if you consider and apply this to anything, whether it is accounting or financing, you need to be able to identify right away. And you can't get that from reading the book.
Yeah. Can I tell you a bit of my own personal by personal experience. I did an apprenticeship. But in my apprenticeship system, the first year you're making tea for the boss.
Yes.
So I was the first black apprentice in the Avalons making airplanes. And so the fellow sent me down to make the tea. And in the kettle was black. So, I wanted to impress the boss. So I got hold of the kettle and I shined it and got it off. Coming from a typical West Indian parent, you've got to get it clean. So I cleaned it and I went to the boss and says, look at it, this is what a bloody other thing you're doing. Right? The tea's not going to taste it, it's not going to taste good now, is it? Because it gave it that flavour. So you can imagine, black, small apprentice, first apprentice, deflated. It really cursed me off, But that's the sort of thing that really occurred with me in your apprenticeship system. That you have to get builds character. I didn't just down tools and walked out, and it made me a better person, I think. So I can make a good cup of tea.
Domestically, is that more and more graduates now coming out of university with good degrees that actually are not perceived as having economic value. So many of those are now transferring into apprenticeship programs because they actually recognise that is a much easier path now to actually move into employment. I think the encouraging thing that we're seeing from employers is moving beyond apprenticeships from being what's seen as traditional apprenticeships, engineering, construction. We're now seeing organisations like PwC, Procter & Gamble, saying actually we are going to reduce our graduate intake and we're going to expand our apprenticeship programs. So whether that's in accountancy, whether it's in finance, or more of the sort of service sector and new areas, which I'm delighted to see. We push it and advocate that apprenticeships clearly very strongly as being a more attractive way to recruit and staff in the future. But they also see it as a better way of actually creating staff who are likely to be more long-term employees, better understand the company culture, have a better work ethic and actually demonstrate economic retention. Well, that's fantastic to hear. I mean, clearly actually the thinking going on here is sort of, actually in many respects more advanced, than actually we're seeing in our own sort of home country. We're sort of maybe I'll be writing to Mr. Go saying, get out to Jamaica and see what they're doing there. At least talk to them, because the ideas are right. I mean, I think that's fantastic. I think it's a great way of getting work experience, building employability skills, actually doing it in a way that actually saves government money. It's absolutely the right thing to be doing. I applaud you for doing that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andy.